You may not know it, but CSGO actually has a holy trinity, specifically a holy trinity of rich Arabs who've blown a huge amount on CSGO skins. In this pantheon, you'll find characters like Stack, the snake who literally scammed his own friend, HFB, the spoiled brat who would threaten to sue you if you told people you were working for him, and you will also find a man called Motar2k, better known as Motar2k. Motar2k is not like his counterparts. In a world where rich collectors have stumbled into this game only to look like clowns or idiots or outright thieves, Motar2k bucked the trend, not just to earn the community's respect, but to become a borderline mythical figure. But who is he exactly? What did he do to become so famous? And why is it that he's the only high-profile mega rich dude in the community to come out not looking like he's kind of a dick? Well, this is the story of Motar2k, the first legend of the CSGO community. Now, this video is sponsored by SkinsMonkey. SkinsMonkey is a site where you can quickly and easily trade your CSGO skins. All you have to do is log in through Steam and add your trade link. Once you're in, just select the skins you want and hit trade, and you'll instantly get a trade offer with the skins you're after. Anything extra will be added to your balance, and if a skin you want isn't tradable, you can just reserve it until it is. Use the code Heyzeus to get up to $5 free on your first trade, and you can also get 35% rather than 30% by using this code if you top up. And this one works unlimited times too. It's a great site, recommend checking it out, the link is in the description. Now, if we go back in time to 2014, things in the CSGO scene were a little bit smaller than they are now. View counts were smaller, case unboxings were smaller, tournaments were smaller, pro player salaries were smaller, everything was smaller. It's quite insane when you look back at it, just how far we've come, but it's also important to keep this in mind when we talk about Motar2k, because when he appeared out of nowhere and gave Pasha Biceps $15,000 on the 11th of November 2014, people took notice. Especially Pasha.
I should start cry right now, my friend, because you know.
And Pasha wasn't crying for dramatic effect. He reacted that way because it really was a life-changing amount of money for him at the time. I mean, it still was a lot today, but back in 2014, that amount of money was completely bonkers on Twitch. And this wasn't the only donation Motar2k made either, it was just the highest profile one of a string of donations he'd been dropping beginning in October that year, and it included another $5,000 for Pasha, $4,000 more for Pasha on top of that, $6,500 for Pasha because, you know, why not, 5,000 euros for Shocks, $3,667 for Shroud, and $1,000 each for a bunch of other people including Exist, Scream, and Nothing. And once all these various other donations are factored in, Motar2k had racked up something like 50k of donations within literally just a month or two. This immediately got the community's attention, and thread after thread after thread went up about what he was doing. And with the CSGO community being the lovely place that it is, Motar2k was immediately attacked by a mob of haters. Yes, that's right. For the awful crime of donating money to the players he liked, Motar2k was submitted to the ire of the HLTV forums, calling him out for horrible things like including his name in the donation message, making streaming profitable for players, and also just generally insulting him and shit-talking him. And while you will learn if you spend long enough on the internet that you can just ignore schizo people in terminally online communities, Motar2k was pretty new to this, and clearly pretty rattled to find people attacking him for completely insane reasons, so he decided to make a thread to explain himself. Now, the thread itself actually didn't reveal that much. It was basically him just trying to explain that he's not some evil monster out for attention due to some evil purpose that made no economic sense. He was simply a dude who started playing CSGO a few weeks back and got hooked. Oh, and apparently he had a man crush on Freiburg's recoil control. He didn't do a whole lot to explain who he was beyond the fact he was an Emirati with perfect English, but it did make a lot of people feel he was a very genuine and decent guy. It put a human being behind the donation pop-up. And while all this was going on, Motar2k was also doing something else. He was breaking records with CSGO skins, and he was doing it live on Twitch. You see, one of the first things Motar2k actually did before he even started donating to pro players was stream himself on Twitch Why he started so quickly, I've honestly got no idea. It's kind of unusual, but still. He was streaming basically right away, and he quickly decided he wanted to set a record for most cases opened in a single stream. The result? A crazy broadcast in early November 2014, where 3,000 cases were opened between a ton of accounts, which was completely unheard of at the time, and the mad views on the Twitch VOD and the YouTube upload of it really go to demonstrate just how much interest there was. Only 2 knives though. RIP. He also did a bunch of giveaways which drew plenty of people in, and kept a nice inventory too, including this infamous blue gem which he kept all the way until 2018. And then, at the end of January 2015, having made Pasha cry tears of joy, having broken case unboxing records, and having made tens of thousands of fans, Motar2k would do something that would truly cement his status in legend. He disappeared. Now, Motar2k disappearing is not the end of his story. In fact, in some respects, it is really just the start. I suspect his reasons for leaving were a combination of being annoyed at the continual stream of mean messages from jealous kids who they never stopped, it's pathetic, plus probably wanting to focus on some other things in life. But there was no official statement, just a mic drop, and in the silence that followed, speculation began to run wild. And this is where the myth of Motar2k really began. By actually engaging in the community, Mortar had made people realize he was an actual person, not just a name attached to a dono. But as far as that person went, there was very little people seemed to know, and now that he was inactive, people started to try to fill in the blanks themselves. Speculation began to run wild about who he was and where he got his money from. People began mixing him up with other high-end donators like this guy Madivore, seen here giving 7k to an e-girl, but is in a Motar2k compilation video even though they're completely different people. It's just being attributed to him for some reason. And they also started coming up with their own wacky theories about why he left. Not intended to be taken seriously, but it all fed into the myth. And it was this lack of hard information and all the wacky crazy theories that came to fill it that came to define who Motar2k was. To this day, you will still find wild misinformation being repeated about him, a mysterious rich man who appeared and disappeared, an elusive figure seemingly etched into the collective mind of the CSGO community. And the craziest thing of all is that this entire perception of him is completely and utterly wrong. Despite all the threads asking what happened to Motar2k, the truth is that he never really went away, and despite all the speculation about who he actually is, Motar2k is not mysterious at all. In fact, it's almost like there's 2 Motar2ks, a mythical Arab oil baron etched into CSGO legend, but also the real guy who not only never left, but is way more interesting than any imaginary Motar2k ever was. Now, while Mortar never left, he did become less active. He was clearly busy with other things, but he also clearly kept his love for CSGO. He kept appearing repeatedly to drop random donations on streamers he liked, so much so that some of them actually felt bad about taking it.
If guys, sometimes Motar2k will donate me, even I just will say him, man, I don't need your money.
He also live streamed himself doing a bunch more case unboxings over the years, including a stream where he set a new record by opening 5,000 CSGO cases, and famously flew Swag, the banned player formerly from iBuyPower, to his house to teach him how to play CSGO, which he also live streamed. And his status would also bring him the attention of quite a few scammers looking to make a quick buck, some of them looking to scam him.
Did you know, you guys know who Care is? Care used to own what, CSGO Shuffle, right? Anyway, so Care tried to get me to do a 20k 1v1 against Phantom Lord. And then a few weeks later it came out that they had rigged the website. I was pretty fucking pissed at both those guys, because obviously they were going to rig it and lose the 20k.
And I know for a fact, by the way, that Phantom Lord did rig those and did scam his friends, so Mortar dodged a bullet there. But anyway, more often than not, these scammers were actually impersonators looking to scam someone else, and the most famous example of this was in 2019 when a Belgian guy called Joachim made an Instagram and Twitter account pretending to simultaneously be Motar2k and the owner of CS Money at the same time. And he got away with it for over a year too, because there wasn't a whole lot people could do about it. But eventually, Motar2k became so angry about the situation that he tracked down Jotram's personal details and sent him a legal threat, at which point Jotram shat himself and disappeared. But hey, speaking of this Twitter account here, the real Motar2k, well, Motar2k made it in July 2018, and in the process, a lot has come out about who he actually is. You see, you might be familiar with something called the LA influencer lifestyle. Yes, I know it doesn't have the best connotations, but let's check out Motar2k's Twitter. Beverly Hills, check. Lifting weights, check. Dating someone of 8 million followers on Instagram, check. Hanging out with celebrities, check. Parties, check. Except it's not a toxic facade of some clout demon attempting to farm up followers and brand deals. This is just Motar2k living his life like a positive version of a negative internet stereotype. Almost like a non-fraudulent Dan Bilzerian who actually has money and isn't cynically trying to get followers by pushing a make-believe life on social media. Oh, and also, he works. Like, his job is not just to be rich and party. This dude works. And not in oil either. He was always very clear about that too, even going as far as to say that he worked in real estate on his Twitch, although for whatever reason that rumor that he's an oil baron just refuses to die. But at the moment, he actually has a different job. You might have heard of something called the ADCC. It's a submission fighting championship literally created by one of the sons of the former president of the United Arab Emirates. Well, Motar2k is its head organizer. That's no f***ing internship, that's a serious job. I imagine there is a lot of work. I really don't think it's a cruisy role, and that brings me to the next point I wanted to make. At the start of the video I mentioned that very high profile rich people who stumble into the CSGO community and get lots of attention generally don't have a good time. It's true that often the reason they are so high profile is because of their toxic behaviour, so it can be a self-fulfilling prophecy, but Motar2k is clearly an exception. He became famous by not being a dick and still has an extremely good reputation. And when you look at his bio, that is no shock. I mean, generally speaking, these people tend to either be kids born with a silver spoon in their mouth, allegedly anyway, or terminally online egomaniacs who blundered their way into a crypto fortune, again, allegedly. But Motar2k is different. While he definitely didn't have an impoverished upbringing, he's clearly someone who works, and works hard by the sounds of things. It also seems like he's got pretty good social skills, and he's also actually an adult for that matter, so it's not exactly a shock that he hasn't carelessly thrown away huge amounts of money in acts of blatant stupidity, or successfully made huge numbers of people hate him by being a dick, or scammed his friends, for that matter. And it's strange to think that in this scene, that is kind of an achievement in its own right, but CSGO is a very special place like that. Anyway, it really surprises me there's such a myth around this guy, because Mortar has never been that secretive. He's never tried to portray himself as something that he isn't, yet his name took on a life of its own for reasons that really don't make that much sense. And the most ironic thing of all is that the real guy is far more interesting than the imaginary Motar2k ever was in the first place.